Welcome to Sun Identity Management Buzz TV.
Hi, I'm Daniel Raskin. I'm the host of Identity Management Buzz TV, and we're here today with Yvonne Wilson, who's the Director of Application Services and Security at Sun IT. Yvonne, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Sun?
Well, thank you. I'm responsible for the security and application services for our internal operations.
Right.
So that means worrying about all of our identity and security related to identity and the strategy for that and the architecture.
Okay, great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Sun IT? How big is it? How many applications, things like that?
Well, related to identity, the short answer is it's very big.
Okay.
We have about 50,000 users internally that we worry
Wow.
about. We have over 11 million customers registered in our customer database.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 1,200 applications.
Okay.
That's just inside. We have more applications that we have outsourced.
Mm-hmm.
And so mixing all those together, it's quite a challenge to make sure that the correct users are getting to the correct applications and the provisioning and onboarding is happening in a timely manner, et cetera.
Okay, so basic gist is lots of applications internally, partner applications that you're federating to, and just a very large infrastructure that you have to manage. And when you think about that, what are you doing in terms of identity and the identity infrastructure that you're using?
Well, we started with directory server, and we deployed 2 instances of that, one
Mm-hmm.
employee-facing and one is customer-facing.
Okay.
And we put Access Manager on top of that for
Okay.
single sign-on. And we're also using that for federation to provide authentication to external applications, outsourced applications. And we've also deployed Identity Manager to replace a lot of those custom provisioning scripts that no one knew how they worked.
Okay.
So we're replacing a lot of those with Identity Manager, with the automated workflows
Okay.
and approval processes that enables.
Okay, so directories as your data store. You're doing both internal and external
Correct.
single sign-on, so federation and internal single sign-on.
Correct.
And then you're provisioning lots of users using Identity Manager. So essentially you're using Sun's Identity Management Suite.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so in terms of just the types of things that you're using for federation, for example, what's an example of a partner relationship that you have that you're federating to?
Well, we outsourced our HR suite of applications, and it's always a challenge when you outsource because, how do you have the people authenticate? We don't want our outsourced application service providers collecting or having access to our single sign-on credentials. So we really found federation was an excellent solution because it allows users to go to an external application, they are bounced back to Sun and they authenticate to Sun, and so the external provider never sees any of those credentials.
Okay.
And so they're essentially trusting Sun to authenticate our own people.
Okay. And is it a very hard process to get set up? Is there a big onboarding process to doing that? And what about the scalability? Do you plan on having lots of partners that you want to federate to, or where are you going with that?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Because if you don't do that, then you have a lot of challenges in terms of how to authenticate users. You don't want to go back to a model where you have a different username or password for every single application.
Right.
That doesn't scale.
Okay.
So this is definitely a more scalable model.
Okay. So one of the common things that I hear from customers is they get the technology, they get the infrastructure, they don't necessarily have a clear way of explaining the benefits to their business owners. So could you talk a little bit about some of the benefits that you're experiencing, the cost savings, things like that?
Yeah, and I've really found it easiest to explain that in terms of cost avoidance. So if you don't consolidate your identity, for example, then you've got a lot of different usernames or passwords for different applications, and that's going to give you a lot of help desk costs. If you don't go to a single sign-on model, if you don't federate, then you're going to be doing a kind of custom one-off solution with every external service provider that you use.
Okay.
And that's going to cost in terms of design time. And if you want to, say, move to a stronger authentication model, you might have to do that in every single application.
Right.
Whereas if you deploy a single sign-on product like Access Manager, you've got a single point to do that.
Right. Okay. So
and similarly with Identity Manager, if you're working with a lot of custom provisioning scripts, you don't have any visibility into what those are doing. And so when it comes time to provide compliance reports, SOX, whatever compliance regulations you have to comply with, then it becomes very costly if you don't have any visibility.
Right. So in terms of the compliance that Identity Manager brings, you know, the cost savings in terms of the onboarding and the repeatability that Access Manager brings, then you add Directory where now you have a lot of scalability. You have a pretty powerful solution to work with. Okay.
Exactly. But it's a solution that can be implemented in phases as well.
Okay. And then what are you guys thinking about for next steps? What are you looking at other technologies to add on to your identity infrastructure? There's things like roles and fine-grained authorization in areas like that a lot of people are talking about.
Right, that's exactly one of the next steps that we need to take. We've got a good foundation for our provisioning and our authentication, and we want to make sure that what we're provisioning out makes sense, and so we really want to make our role design process more efficient.
Right. Okay, so it's the next step of simplification.
Exactly.
Well, this is great, Yvonne. Really appreciate your coming on to the show, and want to thank you very much.
No problem.
So this wraps up the edition of Identity Management Buzz. We really appreciate your tuning in, and look forward to sharing more topics and areas that we can talk to you about. Take care.